still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business. This is the podcast where we give you the tools, the tactics, and the strategies to help you grow your high intensity strength training business. Get more clients for your high intensity training business when you download our free resources over at highintensitybusiness.com/free. So this includes resource PDFs on how to get clients for your business. So 10 tips to get more clients, how to attract and retain great trainers, a high converting strength training sales presentation, transcripts to every episode, and much, much more. So again, download that over at highintensitybusiness.com/free. This is episode 410. And today's guest, I'm excited to announce, is John Thompson, founder of Thompson Fitness Transformation Center and Limitless, an online men's fitness coaching program. John, welcome to the podcast.
Lawrence, thank you. This is one of my favorite things to do, is be on someone else's podcast, but I'm more emotionally excited about this one because this is my favorite podcast to listen to. So thank you.
Thank you, John. That is a massive compliment coming from you. I'm so inspired talking to you recently and learning about your story. You know, obviously I've known of you for a while, and we've kind of exchanged messages here and there over the years, and you've always said lovely things over the internet, and you even gave me a 5-star review when we opened our studio, which I really appreciated. Doug Holland actually emailed me recently and said, you have to get John Thompson on the podcast. This guy is crushing people. And I was like, okay, that's even more evidence. I was always curious about it. I was like, what's this guy up to? And there was more evidence that, you know, we needed to connect. And obviously, very grateful for you joining our membership community recently as well. So what I'd love to do on this podcast, John, is just, I guess, tell the listeners about your story, because it's quite an interesting one. You're quite a young guy too, right? You're younger than me. Late
34,
20s?
yeah.
34. Actually,
no one ever guesses my age. They're like, are you 27? Or they're like, are you 40? Like, no one ever guesses. If they know I have 4 kids, they think I'm 40. And if they just meet me and they don't know anything, they think I'm younger. So
this is why well, you look great. This is another reason why you inspire me, because I have 2 kids and you have 4 kids. And like me, I'm sure you're like incredibly busy. You've got like businesses with like multiple business units, which we'll talk about. And so you got a lot going on. So it's really inspiring. So I'm hoping to learn from you. So let's get into it. Tell me.
I have to give credit though. My wife is a queen. She homeschools all 4 of them. She does.
Wow.
Excuse me. All of that. So I am blessed.
That's amazing. Fair play to her. So where do we start? So do you want to take us right back to you maybe first getting into fitness before you've come across high intensity training?
Yeah. That's like 20 years ago. So I was a super strange kid. I would stay up and watch infomercials at night of the Bowflex and Total Gym with Chuck Norris. And I literally like memorized those infomercials. So I always liked fitness a lot. And I didn't just like thinking about like getting buff. Like I was actually into like muscles contracting, like the physiology of it. So anyway, I did that, and I watched vacuum commercials too, which was super weird. But I like my mom made me vacuum the house. We had a pretty large house, a living room, and for whatever reason I got stuck with the vacuuming. So I liked watching fitness commercials and vacuuming commercials. Which is
that more because you're into like, it sounds like you had an interest in the business side of it early on too, in that case. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So that's interesting story too. This all comes full circle. So I'll get into the business side of it too. I actually discovered high intensity training reading a business book, not a fitness book, that my friend gave me. And he was like my first friend that really like showed me that like reading was cool, and entrepreneurship, and like read business books and all this stuff. And I finished no books outside of school by the time I was like 19. I don't think I'd ever picked up a book myself and read it because I wanted to, that was outside of just education. So, but back 20 years ago, back when those Bowflex commercials were airing, Elle Darden was actually the like nutritional like ebook companion thing that came with like the Bowflex. So like when I got into HIIT and I heard Ellington Darden, I was like, where do I know that name from? I've heard that name like so many times. And then I remembered it was from the Bowflex commercials as a kid. So anyway, it was like Fast Fat Loss Now was like the companion thing that came with the Bowflex. So I always thought that was funny. Anyway, so I got into that young age. I was a gymnast. I raced motorcycles. I raced mountain bikes. And so I always trained myself for those sports, even at a young age. And then when I was 14, a friend of mine, a couple years older, was really into bodybuilding. And I worked out with him the summer I was turning 15. and I gained about 15 pounds of weight or muscle that summer. And that's when I really got into bodybuilding. And it was traditional, high volume. He did have the Dorian Yates, the famous Dorian Yates poster in his bedroom. And we worked out that whole summer. That really, he's a trainer now too. And I've stayed in fitness. We've both been in it for years and years now. So it was a interesting matchup that I met him. If it wasn't for that summer, I think I maybe wouldn't have gone into fitness. I don't know. So that was kind of high school when I did traditional bodybuilding, 1 to 2 hour workouts, had all the time in the world. Loved being in the gym. And then when I was 19, my friend gave me the 4-hour work week. And I've heard some other people, I think, on this podcast before, and maybe even you, talk about the 4-hour body. So this was before the 4-hour body came out. This was like the year after 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss had blown up. And if I remember correctly, there was like one sentence in that book where he mentioned his geek to freak experiment and the Colorado experiment. So I like highlighted it and went on, read the whole rest of the book, and just one day like looked it up, I think on bodybuilding.com or something. And he says he gained 20 pounds of muscle and 28 pounds in 4 weeks, which I, not calling Tim Ferriss a liar, just don't totally know. I still believe that to this day, even though I do believe in HIIT. Sounds a little insane unless it was a rebound, Casey situation. But anyway, so then my cousin that I worked out with every day, his dad, my uncle, I remember had mentioned something about some really slow workout he was doing where he breathed really fast and he moved the weights really slow, and I thought it was stupid. And it was like the year before this. Well, then I read about this and I read about the Colorado experiment that led me to some other HIIT stuff. And I said to my uncle, I was like, is this the workout you were doing? Was it called super slow? He's like, yes, I told you. He's like, what, are you all into that now? And I'm like, yeah, I read some stuff. He's like, I knew that you would like it. Let me introduce you to Dr. Ron. So Dr. Ron, local in my city, I'm pretty sure he owned a super slow zone franchise. I'm not 100% sure, but he had medics equipment. He had a studio set up. But when I met him, they had moved it in-house to like this wellness center where they had chiropractic, massage therapy, and a couple of trainers doing kind of a rehab on medics equipment using the super slow protocol, but it was not a super slow franchise or anything at that point. So I met Dr. Ron. We hit it off really well. And he's like, I'd love for you to be an instructor here. At that point, I had gotten into personal training. I was certified and I worked at 24-hour fitness as a personal trainer. And I had converted training my clients to HIIT twice a week, 30 minutes. That's all we did. And we were getting really good results. So then I started working there 3 days a week in essentially a super slow zone, non-super slow franchise. And things just kind of went from there. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, no. Yeah, keep going. Tell me more.
Yeah. So I worked at both places, I think for like half a year maybe. And then I finally transitioned all the way to just the wellness center full time, got out of 24-hour fitness. And then in 2009 summer, I opened my first studio. It was 1,440 square feet. I left the wellness center, just kind of wanted to do it myself. And that was my 21st birthday that summer. So I opened the gym, turned 21, and I've done nothing else since then. So it's been 13, almost 14 years and a few months that I've had my own place. We've moved up into bigger, larger buildings. And at that time, I opened a 9:30 group session. And I still remember it was Care Burt and Mary Stewart. They were the first people I trained to at the same time. Like, we're going to keep this to 30 minutes. We're going to do the same principles. I'm not going to make it longer just because there's two of them. And it was no different. It was just as easy to train both of them. And then we added a third person and a fourth person. And I still remember the first day I had to demonstrate the workout. There was 10 people in the room and I was super nervous. I felt like I was public speaking with all 10 of them in there. But now we run groups as high as 25 or 30, which I know is pretty unheard of with HIIT. And I've been asked before, how do you ensure that they're, taking their sets to failure when you have that many people in the room? And I say the same way I do with online clients. I don't know. I teach them how to do it. We trust that they know the protocol. I can't be with all of those people at the same time at failure, but it's not dangerous. It's just like anyone else who trains by themselves and performs high intensity training. So we have a high standard for the client to know the protocol and do it. And because of that, we can train them at a much lower cost, which from an economical standpoint, we are in the realm of group coaching where, we're kind of competing with an Orange Theory or an F45 or a Burn Boot Camp or a Barry's Boot Camp. And I wanted to provide an alternative because in 2009, group training started to explode because the recession kind of hit one-on-one hard. not people who really knew what they were doing, but 24-hour fitness, all the big box gyms, one-on-one, like died overnight during that time frame. Not for everybody, but for a lot of people. And so when I was
Why
getting
is that?
clients in,
Why is that? Is that because the middle class just didn't have the income to justify it? And
yeah, I mean, car sales, everything. I mean, I would sign people up and they'd get laid off like the next week. I mean, there was a massive layoff. Even
yeah,
in 2009, a lot of companies budget obviously a year ahead. So in 2008, a lot of people didn't get laid off in 2008. They got laid off in 2009. So when I was building, like people told me, don't open your gym. This is a horrible economy, the recession, don't do it. But also nobody else was thinking about doing it for that same reason. And so it was actually a pretty open market space. And when people were coming into my studio, they'd never even seen group training before. Like back then, people were still doing park boot camps, like bring your dumbbells and a mat and lay on the wet grass. And we're going to do this, glorified Zumba class with dumbbells. And so people would come in all the time, like, I've never done anything like this before. Now, 10 years later, 12 years later, no one says that. Everyone's done something somewhere. They've done group, they've done CrossFit and blown their shoulder out. They've done Orange Theory. They've done these different things. So we have to sell them on why we're different. And I feel like
how do you do that?
Going
how
all
do you
over
do
the
that?
place.
How do you differentiate?
The drums I beat are 30-minute workouts, strength training only, zero cardio, and we're actually a transformation center. We actually coach you on those things. So we are a fat loss facility. When people sign up with us, yes, they want to get stronger, they want to get healthier, but people come to us with weight loss goals. They want to lose 20 to 40 pounds. We have clients who've lost over 100 pounds. I know that we are a fat loss facility, so I don't try to sell it as just the workout itself. I sell transformation packages to people. We are selling a result, and we sell that result in the most efficient time possible. So I just posted last week about Trent and Monica Ford. They're a married couple. They came in and lost 123.8
I
pounds
saw that.
together. Yeah.
Looks amazing.
In 90 minutes a week. They come to us 3 days a week, 30-minute workouts, zero cardio, zero exercise outside of us, outside of being instructed by me. They don't go on runs. They don't go on any purposeful walks. They just get regular walking, but they don't count their steps. They don't do anything except 30-minute workouts here, 90 minutes a week. And they didn't have slow results by any stretch of the imagination. Monica lost 36 pounds the first 90 days. I think it was 36. It was over 30. Trent was 42 pounds, and now they're down 50 and 70 pounds each. So that'd be fast, even if they were working out like twice a day for 2 or 3 hours, right? People work out. I know people work out 7 days a week for 3 hours and don't get results like that, right? So we're selling an efficient transformation where I tell people on the phone, I'm like, we go with what I call S3, science, strategy, and psychology. I know psychology starts with a P, but we get it. So
I didn't actually think about that.
Right. So you need a scientific approach. You need an evidence-based approach to your transformation. Okay, cool. Got it. Most programs don't have that, but let's assume they do. So ours is scientifically based. So is theirs. But psychologically, is your program psychologically enjoyable to get through? Right? If you don't deactivate willpower and motivation inside of your health and fitness routine, you will always struggle. You will always be falling off the wagon because you can't wait to quit the program. So someone who's never worked out before, and all of a sudden I say some event happens, right? Some life event. They either broke a chair at work, they have an event coming up, someone just broke up with them, they're getting married, something like that, starts the fire, lights the fire for them to call me because they want to do something. So I always ask, why are you calling me today? Why didn't you call me 6 months ago? Why didn't you call me a year ago? Did you just discover this? Or why do you want to make a change now? And I dig until I know why they called me now, because that's going to wear off. That event, whatever made them decide, that event's the spark, but it's not going to keep them going. We have to get them into a psychologically enjoyable routine and although it's hard to do, it's effortless in its application because of the time efficiency of it every week. 1 to 2 hours a week, achieve your peak physique. Nothing has better promise than that with zero cardio. So I skipped strategy. Strategies, the 30 minutes. We have nutrition. We have a fitness strategy. So science, strategy, psychology, we have that whole package. And they normally resonate with that because they've normally tried something else before. And they're like, yeah, I was going to the gym 2 hours a night, 6, 7 days a week, and I didn't get any results, or they didn't get even close to the results they wanted. So someone who's been doing zero of something and all of a sudden they put 15 hours a week into it, they are not going to stick with that program. Like some will, but it's very, very unlikely they're going to stick with that.
Yeah.
So that's what we sell them on, is that, hey, we're a full spectrum coaching program. You're not going to have any guesswork with anything. Your workouts are going to have no guesswork. Just show up and execute with a high amount of effort. Do as I say, it's going to work out. Follow our nutrition. We have an effortless eating guide, the Limitless Diet, and we put them on a specific eating routine or macro ratio, whichever way they want to do it. We give them the choice. They can follow more of a rigid routine, which we're like, hey, eat this, not that, go. And then we have what we call the macro stack, which is where they actually count their macros if they want to calculate and they want to log in an app. And we weigh them in. We take their body fat percentage and we keep them on it. Like, we have a high standard of behavior. We don't just let them sign up and they just don't weigh in anymore. Like, we're on them. We find out where they are. If they come in and try to not weigh in on weigh-in Wednesday because they did something that weekend they regret doing, I'm like, no, we don't just check the weather when it's sunshine outside. We check this all the time. So get on the scale. And they're mad because they're up 2 pounds or whatever. So we're on them. We're on them hard. And that's why we have good transformations. And that those other transformations set the standard of what we expect for them when they come in.
Mhm.
And so the best way to get your clients' results is to expect them to actually get them and hold them to a higher standard.
Mm, yeah. What gets measured improves, right? There's one way of looking at it.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. I'm curious, how do you, so I've been thinking about this recently. How do you talk? Obviously, I know you've got the nutrition component there, which is a huge part of the fat loss equation. But how do you talk about strength training and its impact on fat loss to your clients?
I tell them that there is not an 80-20 rule of nutrition to exercise. I say it's 100 and 100. Nutrition controls 100% of what it controls. You can't nutrify yourself with exercise. And your exercise controls 100% of what it controls. You're not going to gain, lean mass and get more fit by eating. Those work in conjunction with each other, but it's not there. When you imply an 80-20 principle to clients, like it's 80% nutrition, 20% diet, they think they can make up with the other one if one of the other ones is lacking. So I tell them that's not true. That's not how this works. So your diet is almost 100% the reason you do or do not lose body fat. It's always the diet. It's not the exercise. And I always reverse their time in their mind to them, where if they say, well, what if I did more? What if I worked out for an hour? What if I worked out twice as much per week? I go, well, there's 168 hours in the week. So you work out with me for 1 to 2. You're not working out for 166 or 167 hours a week. If you double that, you're still not going to be working out for like 162, 165 hours of the week. So look at the amount of time you are not exercising. You are always, no matter how much exercise you do, you are drastically not working out more than you are working out. So what we can take from that is that the signaling process that takes place during exercise matters more than anything. What the workout tells your body to do the rest of the hours of the week that you are not training matters the most. So exercise is a signaling process. You don't get better during the workout, you get worse. You're better off getting mugged before you walk in the gym than get mugged after you walk out because you're a weaker person after you leave. So we know that the workout doesn't make you better. Your body makes you better. The workout sends a signal, that sends a threat to the system that you need to adapt and get better and stronger next time this potentially happens. So it's the signaling and how well we can send that signal to your body that will determine what happens the rest of the week. So we explain the 3 phases of supercompensation, which might sound technical, but we explain it pretty easy to them. The workout's a signal, which sends you into the recovery process, which is phase 2. How well you recover dictates the 3rd phase, which is the adaptation process, how much better you actually get from workout to workout. So signal, how well you signal or how much effort we put into the signaling will put a deeper inroad into the body, right? The recovery process, how well you sleep, how well you don't sleep, how much stress you have in your life, how well you eat, and how well you hydrate will determine how well you recover. How well you signal and how well you recover will determine the amount of adaptation you get from workout to workout. So that 3 phase, all of those parts are equal components to the transformational process. So don't overemphasize the workout. We're not one of those places that's like, you slept 4 hours last night, you better wake up and do it. Like every damn day, you've got to get after it. Like a lot of the fitness kind of industry promotes. Like, I'm like, if you slept 4 hours, the worst thing you could do is get up and come work out here with us. Like the most fat loss thing you can do that day is take a nap. Don't come work out with us when you slept for 4 hours. Like, we've got to get this whole world dialed in. Your 24-hour cycle, we've got to get all of this dialed in. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How about you, John? You're sharp cognitively. You look fresh and well rested. Do you get a lot of sleep with 4 kids?
I call my Aura Ring Cora. I gave her a name, and she yells at me all the time that my REM sleep is not enough because I don't sleep quite enough hours. But my deep
I
sleep
see.
is always good. Yeah. So I try to get in bed at 8:30. I'm up at 4:30 every day. It's normally 9:30. But man, if I fall asleep like at 8:50 or something versus like 9:20, like I'm a different human.
Wow.
So I get enough deep restorative sleep, a little lacking on REM sleep. I will take naps, and that'll pump me back up. But no, I'm operating at a pretty good
Yeah.
readiness level on a regular basis. Yeah. I work
Awesome.
out 2 days a week. Sometimes only one, sometimes three. If I split upper and lower, if I don't feel quite into doing a full body workout, I'll split it up and I'll work out a couple of days later and do the other one. So
Mhm.
1 to 3 days a week. It's normally twice. It's normally Wednesday and a weekend day. And that's all I do.
Perfect. Cool. So thank you for that. Thank you for kind of bringing us up to, I guess, kind of present day in terms of your story and building the business. Just you said a little bit there already about where you're at in terms of business. 22 to 25 people per session, 30-minute sessions. I think you mentioned to me before around 34 sessions per week, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to just elaborate on, I guess, maybe to give the listeners an idea of scale, like kind of how many clients you have, and if you don't mind saying, like what you perhaps charge per month on average, just to give them an idea of
Yeah.
what's
We have
possible.
about, and it fluctuates with the group. There's a higher churn rate, obviously. But we're bringing in people every week as well. So there's anywhere around 220. Sometimes we have 240 clients. Sometimes there's 210 on a given week or month, but it flows and stays pretty
Hmm.
regular throughout the year. But I would say average is probably 220 at any given moment.
Okay.
And we do 3, 6, and 12-month programs. You can't come and sign up for a single month because we have found that the someone will quit most likely in their first several weeks when things don't go the way they want them to go. So they, for their benefit, they need to be locked in for at least some short period of time. And also, a new client is the most work for us the first month. That's when they have all their nutrition questions. That's when we're with them more one on one, doing their weight, their body fat. I'll do a phone consult with them if they're confused about things. I don't charge for that. So they sign up for 1 month and they take up a lot of time and they quit for whatever reason. Then that's not very economical for us. So
Sure.
we do at least 3 months. That's the minimal time they're going to need to make some form of change in their life. And then we have 6 and 12 months for our longer, term clients when they decide it's something they want to continue doing. So 3, 6, and 12 months, there's no difference in training. There's no difference in nutritional coaching. It's always our full-fledged best service we can provide, but they get a price break based on the time commitment. So it's 197 for 3 months per month. It's 167 per month for 6 months. It's 147 a month for 12 months.
Thank you. Thank you for being transparent. I think that's very helpful. And I think it's certainly, for myself, it's certainly kind of broken open what's possible in terms of like models, because I think, I don't know, a lot of us just kind of default to like small group and one-on-one, mostly probably one-on-one. And I think obviously there's good reasons for that sometimes, but it's just really interesting to hear someone who's doing it like completely different. I don't know anyone who's doing it like you in terms of size of the group. When we're talking about obviously Mike and Corey Beth and Pure
Mhm.
Physique, and they do the groups, but I don't think they do it to quite the same size. It's fascinating to hear, the type of the size of group you're working with. Um,
Well,
so
let me say
go
something
ahead.
on that
Yeah.
real quick. My thought with that, and no one's doing it. Everyone in HIT, they can do it one on one. They can do 2 on 1, 3 on 1, or smaller but larger than that groups, or very large. What we're doing. One of the reasons so we are going to launch one on one. I
Yeah.
told you this before. We're going to launch one on one. I haven't done one on one in 12 years. I am going to do that. Our front, we have about 1,200 square feet in the front that we just don't use for anything. So I've bought about 13 machines, Hammer Strength, Nautilus, and one MedX piece, and we're putting them in. My it's kind of a double-edged sword with group. So with group, you have only so many time slots a day that it's worth doing a group over, because there's just, before work, after work are big. Maybe an 8 or 9:30 a.m. session works in different places. I have a buddy in Vegas who has like an 11 a.m. one that's full. I don't think 11 a.m. would be good here with us at all. So there's only so many good time slots, but you have this building, you pay the lease or you own the building, you have it 24 hours a day, and there's like 7 or 8 good times to do groups. So where one-on-one is good is that one-on-one is easier to fill up every 30 minutes with one client. But then you still have those very, very popular times, and you can only have, if you're doing one-on-one, 2 clients every hour per trainer. So where I'm thinking with this newer approach of doing the one-on-one is that one-on-one keeps you busy throughout the entire day, where group makes it more economical for the very busy time slots where you're going to receive the most amount of people. So if you only do one-on-one, you're good throughout the whole day, but you're limiting yourself during those very popular time slots if you don't have access to more trainers to see more people. And if you only do group, you have all these dead times throughout the day, hours and hours that your business is generating no revenue, you're seeing no clients at all. So what I'm thinking is the best of both worlds is that you keep those very highly sought after time slots open for group, which is 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and you see a lot of clients in those couple of hours and at night as well. And then you use those other time slots to fill your one-on-one coaching so you can really make the most of your facility throughout the entire day. So that's what we're shooting for. And that's my
Yeah,
idea. I don't think that's necessarily better. That's just something I want to try. I like keeping the large
yeah,
groups open. I like there to be an option other than these heart rate training gyms that are spewing misinformation and non-science with their workout protocols, and that the goal of exercise is heart rate elevation,
mhm.
right? I want there's a group of people who are not going to come in for twice a week, one-on-one, and spend $400 or $500 a month. And that's fine. And we can be niche and just serve those people. But there is this large group of people who are in the couple $100 a month range that want to be in a culture with other people. They don't want to come in just one-on-one with you and a trainer. They like that they have 4 friends that come with them to a group. And there's the camaraderie that there is a niche for that. And I want there to be a high intensity strength training option for that demographic.
Totally. I love it. I love it. And I love what you just went through there in terms of how you make the model work with one-on-one and group throughout the day and the different time slots. I know Luke Carlson is likely to listen to this, and I guarantee you he'll be nodding along at that point, at least I think, because what you said there really is very similar to the way they do things from what I see. Although they'll run small group and one-on-one all at the same time. And I'm thinking you could
Mhm.
probably do that too, right? When you've got enough team, you could perhaps
Right.
run the groups and one-on-ones at the same time, right? So that doesn't limit you to just doing group and just doing one-on-one.
Right, as long as you're not
Yeah.
using the same space for it, which we're not
Right.
going to be, it'll
Yeah.
be it's a separate room essentially, and so we could run them at the same time as well, and we plan to. So, if I can
Yeah.
get a nod from Luke Carlson, that'll be fantastic because I think he is one of the greatest CEOs of the 21st century. I think you're gonna go into Barnes& and Noble or an Amazon bookstore one day, and you're gonna see, like, the Disney CEO book and, like, Welch of GE, and you're gonna see a Luke Carlson book next to it. His leadership is next level.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, obviously. I'm a very public fanboy. Do you know, I said to him once, I hope you won't mind me saying this. And Luke, I'll let this out if you don't like it, although actually it might be too late. I said to him if he wanted to like write a book together, like quite a while ago now, like a book on how to grow the high intensity training business, like a real niche book, as you
Right.
would say. And I believe Luke said something in response along the lines of, actually, I do want to do that one day. Like, I do want to write a book, but I kind of see it as like something I do later on in my career. And I think he mentioned something like he was going to go to Paris and he has this kind of dream of like writing it in France and being in Paris or something like that. And I was like, yeah, fair play, Luke. I appreciate your decision.
He's got it
I think
envisioned and planned.
you're right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, he's very much like that, very vision orientated. No, that's great. So, well, we're going to go from there. So, no, I was going to ask you in terms of the model again. I loved what you said when we talked before about how you actually run the sessions. So, you have in these groups, for example, you have them do 2 cycles of resistance training, right? And they do the first cycle
Correct.
being like a learning and the second one being higher intensity 2 or close to failure. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so we do 8 or 9 exercises, normally 8, and the first lap or the first circuit, we call it the primer lap. So you could look at it as a warm up or as a discovery lap. And so when you're running a large group, there needs to be a learning curve. They know the exercises, but do they know that day what dumbbells they should pick up or what they should use for that exercise? Normally not. They need some type of prep work. So the first lap is a discovery kind of warm up. We just call it the primer lap. So we don't make it insignificant and say that's a warm up because we kind of talk about how you don't need to warm up. But we say this is more of a mental prep and a weight discovery your first lap. So, don't go super hard, don't go to failure, but do a decent set so you can gauge what weight you need. Because if you do like a super easy warm up set, you're not going to actually realize what you need. So, kind of Mike Metzger-ish, where you do a warm up set and then you kind of go. So the first lap is a primer lap. They get about a 45-second break. They'll grab some water and then they're ready to go. So they should know their weights and they should failure. We normally do about a minute in 5 seconds, it goes north or south. We change it. Sometimes it's 50 seconds. Time under low, sometimes it's 100 or a minute and 10 seconds. Well, I tell them, hey, you should not be completing a successful rep at the end of this time frame. So we play music, and there's a voiceover app we use. So it's an audio interval soundtrack. So we have the rest and the work periods set. So there's no the trainer's completely focused on coaching and form. We're not looking at a stopwatch. We're not counting reps. That's
Got
up
it.
to the client. Right. Again, this isn't one-on-one. We can't be that, that close to them during this time frame. So they're expected. And again, this isn't $500 a month. This is $150 a month. So there is more expected from the client. They have to bring more to the table. We're going to serve them as best we can, but there's a certain amount of expected from them. So lap 2 is we hit momentary muscle failure. Sometimes I call it maximum muscle output, MMO, because some people have the word failure doesn't jive well with them.
This is
And
true.
that's how we go. So lap 2 is a failure lap. So today's workout, for example, it was upper body. We have these handles for the pull-up bars. We did a 45-degree kind of supinated grip, negative chin up. That was exercise 1. Right into a barbell bicep curl, right into a dip, a negative dip, right into a dumbbell slight incline lying tricep extension, right into a lateral raise. Next station was a dumbbell overhead press, kind of a pre-exhaust, post-exhaust thing. Seated dumbbell overhead press. Then it was a push-up to failure. And then it was a modified kind of a wide grip upright row. So to kind of minimize some shoulder impingement that might happen if they were narrow grips, we kind of throw this rope through the handles when they do these upright row. So anyway, it was 8 exercises, and yeah, you got bicep back to back on the negative chin and the barbell curl, but it essentially pretty broken up volume, not very high volume. Yeah, they got the primer lap and then the lap to failure, and that was upper body. And we do 2 upper bodies, 2 lower bodies a week. So we do have people who come 4 days a week and do that, but it's still twice weekly total volume on the body. And it's 1 to 2 hours a week of total exercise time.
I love it, John. I want to do your workout. Like, I just listening to you going through that workout, I was like, I would love to do that workout. I think it's great. I love the idea. I love the idea of having that kind of
So this might
discovery.
clarify for some people thinking about the large groups. We're not doing these on machines, right? You heard me. We're doing dips. We have pull-ups.
Got
We
it.
have band assisted, which I know is not the greatest resistance curve for a pull-up, but we do what we got to do. We also have boxes and a lower bar out where they can do a foot assisted, just like a body weight row. If you were hanging from a barbell that was racked and you were pulling yourself up, so they can do that as a chin up assisted version. So we're still going vertical push pull. We're getting horizontal push pull in. We're getting all the angles in, but we are using dumbbells and I don't know if you know what like Liebert equalizer bars are for bodyweight rows or dips. They're like mobile dip bars. It's like 2 dip bars that sit on the floor, and so we can move those around the gym. So yeah, it's bands, it's dumbbells, it's barbells, it's pull-up bars, Liebert equalizers, things like that. So it is, if you walked into it, you might look at this and go, this kind of looks like a CrossFit gym. It doesn't. It has more stuff than that. And we obviously don't do those type of workouts, but it looks like a quote unquote functional fitness room, but we just don't do that in there.
One question I have is when you're running the group, as you say, obviously it's not one-on-one. It's difficult to give people close supervision. But I'm assuming you have a protocol or an SOP for when someone's form really starts to break down. Maybe they don't have great motor control. Maybe they're starting from a low base. How do you address that when you see an exercise being done just really poorly? Is it a case of shouting across the room, Bruce, what the hell are you doing? Get your head up, sort your form
That
out.
happens a lot. Depends on the relationship. Yeah.
yeah, of course. There's definitely a place for that. Or is it more of a case of, hey, we're going to switch you onto this exercise instead? So it's something that's lower skill. For example, I'm just curious how you manage those types of situations. If you give us maybe an example.
Yeah. So we do an exercise demo before the workout starts. So the trainer shows the entire workout. So we demonstrate all 8 exercises, and we give kind of a level 1, 2, and 3 approach to the exercise. We don't jump on the bar and say, here, we're doing a chin up, and jump off the bar and go to the next exercise, because half the room would look at us and go, what the hell am I going to do there? So if there's a band on the bar, or if there's a foot assisted option, that would be like the level 1 regression. And the level 3 progression is someone who can do chin ups for longer than a minute. is we have a weight belt there, and they're going to put the weight belt on and do weighted shins. So we always have like a level 1 regression and then level 3 progression to make it easier or harder. And we show that during the demo. So again, we have to trust they're paying attention to the demo because we can't be with every person. We can't be with them at failure. We can't be with them the entire workout. They're messing things up. They've got to pay attention to that demo, and they have to take responsibility for knowing the workout. And so because we're not paying attention to a stopwatch or counting reps, and we don't promise to be with someone at the point of failure, we are hustling around the room. Like you are, I mean, you can see I'm kind of oily looking right now. Like I was sweating training our sessions this morning. Like I'm getting after, I get like 18,000 steps when I'm here. Like I'm moving around that room quickly, checking people. So it hasn't been very long since I already passed them, seconds ago, maybe like 20
Wow.
seconds goes by and I'm getting past them again. So we are moving. There's a lot of energy is put into that workout. And so sometimes I'm screaming across the room. If you're shy, you're not going to like it because I might yell at your name where every single person hears what I'm correcting you about. We try to use more positive reinforcement. If someone's about to, break something, I'm like, I will say, what the hell are you doing over there? Like, did I show that at all during the demo? Like, where did you come up with that thing? That's not even, that doesn't resemble exercise whatsoever. Were you asleep during the demo? Were you checking your phone? So I'll say this.
I love this.
Yeah, clients hate me. They love me and they hate me at the same time.
Right.
No
Right.
one would describe me as a nice, friendly trainer. I have a good relationship with them, but what you got to know for trainers listening to this, it's like if clients know at the end of the day that you are for them, that you are the way you are because you want them to win so bad, you can say almost whatever you want to them,
I
and it's not
totally
going to be
agree.
taken the wrong way because they know you're doing it because you want what's best for them. You want them to succeed, maybe more than they want it. And my
That's
clients
it
know.
right there. That is it right there. What you just said is everything. They have to feel that you want them to succeed more than they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've heard it a million times in the business, in business books and people online that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
They have to know how much you care, and they have to know that you want those results for them because there is a certain amount, like clients get on the scale and they look at me and I can tell they're more disappointed that they think
Yeah.
they let me down more than they care that it didn't go quite right that week. And I say, "Hey, this is okay. Did your behavior last week, does it match this weigh in?" And they're like, "No, things were great." I go, "Okay, then we don't care. It's fine. Great job. Let's go." But most of the time you look at them and they go, "Yeah, my behavior does match that this weight went up." And I go, "Okay, well, why did you do that?" And we dig in. It wasn't just because the food tasted good. Your why and your goals are bigger than that. Why do you think you self-sabotage this week? And we'll go into it. And so we are a coaching program. We spend a lot of time with people working through the psychology of why they do the things they do. And if they've got trauma or anything else that we need to work with, like, yeah, we're not psychologists, but I'll have that conversation with them of what's going on
Yeah.
in their life. And that's what with online, I know we don't have a ton of time here, but with Limitless, the men's coaching program, we dive deep, deep into that stuff. Like it's not, I've had men lose 100 pounds and then gain that weight back. And we have to ask ourselves, if we're going to be professionals in this field, why does that happen? Did someone literally forget how to eat? Did they forget the diet that got them to lose 100 pounds? Did they forget the workout principles that we taught them over months or over a year? No. What makes them self sabotage? It's never inside the fitness realm, right? They don't fall off the fitness wagon because they forgot something else, some other stressor in their life pulled them and they self sedated through something. So we call it the 5 realms: force, foundation, fitness, fortune, and family. Those are the realms that they occupy. That's how they live life. So force is their spiritual life force. If you're broken spiritually, you are going to crash everything else into the ground. Foundation is of the mind, the principles that guide you through life. Fitness is of the body, the vessel that carries you through this life. Fortune, as a man, your production. You won't be happy if you don't produce. If you don't produce in the fortune realm, not that you're trying to get rich or anything like that, but men are supposed to produce. And if they don't produce, they're not happy and they self sabotage. And then family, the relationships, the fellowship with friends, your wife, your partner, your kids. Those are the things that happen. Those things fall out of place and it pulls people out of their health and fitness routine. It's not that they forgot the application of how they got the results in the first place. So it's one thing to say, why did this person never get results versus how did this person get such good results and then lose them? Like, how did they self sabotage that hard
Mm.
that they just completely not just fell off the wagon, they watched it go off a cliff and they threw dynamite on it afterwards and blew the whole thing up. Why does this happen? It happens because of these other areas of their life. And so they're not being coached. And you might say, I'm an exercise instructor. I don't want to get into that. And that's fine. Like, I'm not saying this is better. This is just how we do it. That's how we coach more in depth with the online coaching, because with online coaching, you're giving them workouts, nutrition, right? They can get that stuff for free. But the transformational process of how we get them through, how we take them down that path for them to succeed at the end, that's what makes us valuable as a coach online. So in person, that's harder because they actually do come in signing up just for the workouts themselves. They think that's going to fix their problem. But I try to pull them out of that mindset sometimes and go, why do you think you've never done this before? Or why did you try this on your own in the past and you failed at it? Let's work through these thoughts and really dig deep and figure out what makes this person tick and what they want out of life and why they even want to do this in the first place. Because this is an investment of time. It's an investment of energy. Like, do you even want to be fit and healthy? And if you do, why do you actually want that? What result do you think it's going to give you to accomplish this? How is your life going to be better because you succeed in this area? And get them to answer those questions.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you for giving us an overview of Limitless, because I wanted to obviously touch on that before we wrap today. John, I'd love to just spend, I guess, the last bit of time we have together here today on just some of the strategies you use to first grow your facility. Because we were talking before we got recording, and you were talking about all these amazing things you did, free marketing stuff you did to grow the business. And I was like, John, shut up, save it for the podcast. And this is when you can actually elaborate on that. So could you just share just some of the things you did in the beginning? Because as you can probably guess, I talk to a lot of our colleagues who are struggling to grow and are interested in ways they can grow their business. And love to just hear about what you've done, what you continue to do from a passive free marketing, if you can focus there to grow the business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So first things first, you have to get, if you're brand new, you have to get some clients and you have to get them results. You have something to feature, right? Now, this is harder to do now with more competition already established than it was 14 years ago. So I don't like to pretend that what I did necessarily in the beginning would work perfectly right now, 12, 13 years later, because the market's different. People are different to a degree and how they respond to consume information. But take very, very good care of your clients, for one, to generate referrals, because referrals the best lead you're going to get. For one, it's free or very cheap, and they're typically pre-sold. And the biggest part is they are like the people you already have. So it's automatic culture building for the most part. Normally, you do it from time to time. A very nice client brings some asshole in. I'm like, are you friends with this person? Like, how do you know this person? They're like, no, I met him at a grocery store. I didn't mean to, but for the most part, they're bringing like friends and family in, and they match the culture. If you like the clients you already have, and it is your fault if you don't like the clients you have, like, you set the ethos of your facility, and maybe not 100%, but you should very much like the vast majority of your clients. So get them results and feature them. So with social media, that's easy. Feature them. Tell a story about them. Don't just post a before and after picture and say, client killing it. Like, we see people do that a lot. Write a story of what they struggled with, what they were hesitant with, obviously with permission from them, what they were thinking, why they may have been skeptical to start. Like, write a couple of paragraphs on that post where you only need one of those to resonate with a handful of people to get 5 clients from one post you did about one single client. So these are taking care of your clients and featuring those clients. In the beginning, I trained a lot of people for free, which you could just say is like with one-on-one, you can do a free consultation if you want to. I know not everyone's for that. Doug Holland ain't training nobody for free. And I love that guy. He's the best. One of the most helpful humans on the planet. And a total badass. But so some people are for that, some people are not. But with groups, you have more leverage, right? Because you're already running the session. You're already paying the rent. You're already paying the bills. The session's already in motion. So if there's another person or two in there and they're in there for free, economically, it's not hurting you unless you have a wait list already, which we're not discussing these marketing issues with someone who has a wait list of clients already, right? So you have the space. If you're doing group, you can add people and you can give them a free 3 sessions. You can give them a free week. Heck, you give them a free month if you want to. I wouldn't recommend training someone free that long. But let them, if you're confident in your ability to provide a workout that they are not going to forget, that they're going to go home and say, holy crap, like that was different than anything I've done. That was amazing. you don't need to be worried about giving a free session away, because if they're the right person, they're going to sign up. So give away 30 minutes. You can give away 30 minutes, or you can spend $150 generating that lead through paid advertising. You're always paying a cost, right, to generate someone, again, unless they're a referral. So whether it's organic or paid advertising, you are paying some type of fee to acquire that lead. And so I like just to expose them to it. So I'll say, hey, just before we talk about prices or anything, I want you to know what you're signing up for. And if we're not a good fit, it doesn't matter anyway. So you're going to come in Monday at 6 a.m., do the workout. Hey, if you love it, great. Let's sign up. If you don't love it, if you hate it, no pressure. I'm not going to sit you down in a room and try to hard close you, because our culture matters to us. So if you don't like it, I do not want you to sign up. And so that lowers their barrier, like whatever cells block anything they're holding up resistance to me goes away. They're like, yeah, I'd love to come in Monday at 6 a.m. So we do that. If I feel like they had maybe a little bit of a poor experience, maybe I went a little bit too hard and they almost vomit, I'll invite them for another workout, because it's not good to try to close someone when they're nauseated. So I'm like, hey, do you want to come back?
Unless they crave that.
Yeah. You want to, yeah, unless they crave it. Yeah. And sometimes they do. But most of the time I'm like, yo, hey, you want to come back again? In a couple of days, we'll do this again. And I might even make it. I know we don't do more than 3 workouts. Because they've experienced enough of it at that point. So yeah, 1 to 3 workouts, depending on their experience. And, if you do your job, they're going to enroll. Now, you got to be able to know how to set the pin up, right? You got to know how to close them on this and not be wishy-washy. And this is the best. You have to believe yourself internally. This is the best decision they can possibly make for their life, so that you make sure they actually sign the contract to get in. So I mean, I've tried so many different, we've done paid ads, we've done challenges, and things have worked great. Some things that worked in 2014 don't work well at all. I used to run a campaign in 2014 where I could spend $33 and I would get a $300 sign up, like clockwork. I literally had to turn the ad off because we'd be too full every time we'd run it. I'd run it for a couple of weeks. We'd get 30, 40, 50 new clients, and I would turn it off. And 4, 6, 8 weeks would go by and I would turn it on again. And that worked every single time. And then in like 2017, that just did not work anymore. Like the costs skyrocketed on Facebook. People started becoming more, I don't know, unaware, blinded to the ads themselves. Just things change. You're always the strategies and tactics you use for exposing your business to the marketplace. Those things change. The psychology doesn't change as much. Knowing your demographic, knowing who you are and what you offer, those things don't change. You should just get better and more refined at your craft when it comes to that. But the tactics and strategies change all the time, because technology changed, and where the eyeballs are change. So whether that's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whether it's paid ads or organic, that stuff you have to figure out. But back in 2011, we did Groupon. People remember Groupon, but like that was a gold mine. You sold a discounted membership through Groupon. About 30% of people who came in would upsell onto a membership after the trial. And you were actually getting paid to take those leads, because Groupon paid you for selling the coupons. You were taking a discounted person, but you weren't paying for the lead. You were actually getting paid to take the lead, and it was your job to sell them on an ongoing program afterwards. So that worked fantastic for like an entire year. I did like nothing else but Groupon. Wow. And then like literally in a month, it just stopped working, like out of nowhere, which is insane. It just fell off the face of the planet. So all those strategies will
well, let's pivot for a second here.
Yeah.
Like you say, a lot of this is not evergreen. A lot of these tactics change. The principles stay the same in terms of who's your target market, what makes you different, how do you position yourself, right? But the tactics through which you actually deploy those things change. So with that in mind, what are the top 3 things that you're doing right now for a growing group? And I know one-on-one is not quite live for you yet, so maybe we'll just talk about group.
Yeah. So,
or are you so busy you're not doing anything?
Yeah, it's interesting, because you'll post reels, you'll post content. It's not like you post it and there's a message in your inbox that says, "Hey, I saw your post today. I would like to sign up." That does happen. But there's this strange thing where the more you post, the more referrals and messages you do get, and you don't necessarily know where they came from, but there's always a correlation to that. So I know that getting content out there has this brand awareness, brand effect that does just generate your clients see your content and it resells them. You're always reselling your current clients on your program. You're always explaining to them and reselling them on why they do this with you, and they don't go do the hour-long workout where they run on the treadmill and row the machine and do light dumbbells and try to get their heart rate up, you're always reselling them on why they don't do it. Because you might think you've explained it so well, and then you realize a client you've trained for 5 years goes and does this ridiculous program. You're like, "How? Like, I messed up so bad. How did they go do that after training with me for 5 years?" Like, I failed miserably on educating them on why we do the things we do. So you're always reselling them. So when you post content online, a lot of that's for your clients to reinforce why they're doing what they do, and that inspires them to go talk to their friend Debbie to come in. So it indirectly generates a referral almost subconsciously by them being resold on your program. So you're always producing content, not as a um, um, direct marketing piece. Like, I'm going to post this today and get 7 clients. We do have um, direct marketing pieces like that, but also a lot of these things are just to reinforce what we do, brand awareness for our clients, for leads, and posting that online. So I will post scientific stuff. I will post some funny things. Yesterday, I posted my head on the state guy that does the
Yeah, I saw that.
like Salt Bay or something, and
Oh, yes.
people thought that was funny, and clients thought that was funny, and then it started conversations, and, like, I'll do that, and then, like, 2 people come in that night as referrals to sign up, and they're like, "Oh, I saw your post today, but I've been watching you for a while." So you don't know what 20 pieces of content they saw, and there's the one that pulls them in the door. You just don't know what it's gonna be, so you just gotta keep doing it and keep doing it, even if you think that you're wasting your time doing it, because that is where the eyeballs are, is on
Yeah.
social media. So reinforcing your brand, what it is you guys do, and then post something like, "Hey, we are running a program starting next week. We're taking on 7 people. It's a high end coaching program. It's for you. If you're looking for this, very specific, call out to the person." And that will bring in 5 or 7 or 10 people in. So I do that as well. Also, I call it Feature Friday, even though I hardly ever do it on Friday. But I take like Trent Monica Ford that I just posted last week. I take a transformation and I post that transformation more than once. It starts out with like a Monday post of, "Hey, this transformation with a kind of a write up. Here's what they did. Here's what they were feeling. This is fantastic." Then I'll do like a video post like on Wednesday with them on my screen back here. For those of you listening, I have a digital whiteboard behind me, and I will post them up, and I'll write on it and say how much weight they lost, and I'll talk about their transformation. I might even talk. It might sound very much like the post I did on Monday, but now it's video. It might be a live. It might be a reel. It might be 3 or 4 minutes long. And then I might post our new transformation program happening on Thursday or Friday after I've already kind of prepped with this transformation, this feature. So I'll really leverage just one transformation instead of posting it once and letting it, you know, blow away out of social media space. I will talk about that transformation 2 or 3 times in 1 week of how well they did and pumping that person up and like really hammering that single transformation. And I'll do that again in several weeks with a new one. And we have so many. I mean, I don't even post a lot of the transformations we have because some are just not as good, but they are still really good. But clients I know are more open to me really posting their stuff online as well. I'll go harder with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
John.
the drums you beat, what
Yeah.
is it? You know, who are you? What does your business stand for? Are you efficient exercise? Are you like who are you just another place? I love Luke said it one day, something like everyone's selling sweat in a room together, something like that. And like that is exactly that is the culture of America anyway, right now is like, let's get in a room and sweat together, or let's stay at home and sweat on a Peloton or something. Like that's what everyone is selling. So get out of that selling to the 30-year-old who wants to go to 4 different places and they want to go do spin somewhere and they want to go do yoga somewhere and they want to go do this thing somewhere else. Like, who wants a transformation program? Who wants efficient exercise? They only want to go to one place and they want to go there a couple of times a week and get the most efficient workout they can possibly get. That is your market. Figure out how to speak to them in your unique voice.
John, you just basically shared so much gold there. I just want to highlight something you said, which I thought was so profound. It's something I've probably forgotten a little bit, is the statement you said, you are always reselling to your current client. Always, right? It's funny because I always, we talk a lot about on the podcast and inside the membership, we talk a lot about like get clients on auto pay on monthly recurring programs because it's actually best for both parties and you don't have to resell and no one wants to be sold again in terms of packages, for example. But that doesn't mean that you're not always reselling to them. You're always reselling them on the idea of the effectiveness of your program for them. And I got me thinking. There's a lot of people I speak to who can't seem to generate referrals. And a lot of the cases not because they're not as proactive about it as I think you can be. I think if we're more proactive about asking, that certainly seems to generate a lot more. But also, I think they are often not doing enough in the way of educating their client, right? And there's so many ways you can do that. I talk about doing a teaching focus during the session, maybe 20 seconds where you talk about something about the benefits of strength training. But then there's so much you can be doing on social media and on email newsletters and things like that, and on your website and your blog. Now, I am mega guilty, as we were talking about before we got recording, of coming off social media for all my businesses at the start of last year. And it was a mistake. It did not benefit my business at all, really. And I learned from that. And I had a bit of an ego around social media about how I'm so zen and I don't waste my time on social media, and I don't think there's good ROI, and it's too many vanity metrics, and it's all about FOMO. And so there is certainly some of the stuff I said is true, and social media can become a distraction if it's poorly utilized, and it can become overwhelming, and it can probably cause some people to fail. So where I'm kind of going with this is I've since actually, for instance, for high intensity business, I've since started posting much more on social media, and I've created a plan around it, and I've got a chap helping me, and we've got a system, and we've got some tools to make it efficient. Because if it gets too overwhelming, I can't stand it, right? So what I've been thinking about lately, John, is I feel like we need some kind of content system strategy, which, might not be evergreen, as we touched on earlier. These things do change, but I think it could be very valuable maybe over the next couple of years, at least, figuring out a really efficient content strategy kind of system that we can all use in high intensity training, right? So what I mean by that is, for example, let's say you do a 1 hour podcast that delivers a ton of value to your client in terms of talking about strength training and like bone mineral density or whatever it is, right? And then you take that 1 hour and you repurpose it in like 30 different ways, in like shorts and reels on like YouTube, Instagram. You have it transcribed. It's a blog post for SEO on your website. It's also then long form content on LinkedIn. And suddenly you have this huge bank of content. And there are tools and things like that allow you to do this. And I feel like a step-by-step system like that, and maybe I could do it on a podcast or something, I'm not sure yet, and would really help us and our colleagues actually execute on an effective social media plan. Because I know people
Are you
just
talking about for a
Go ahead.
marketing standpoint, or
Yeah, I'm talking.
is this an
Oh,
educational
sorry.
for
Well,
current clients?
both to your point,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're educating your clients, you're going to generate this referral. So I am thinking about it from both a retention and a lead generation perspective. Because it was very inspiring for me to hear you talk about there how
Let me
clients will
interrupt you
see
on
that
that real
content.
quick then.
Please do.
So
Yeah.
to back up to about educating clients, think of your program, your philosophy, your science. Think of it as a song that you just released. They don't know the lyrics the first time they hear it, right? You hear people butcher lyrics of new songs come out. They got to listen to that song over and over and over again. They love the song. They want to listen to the song. You need to preach the same things to them over and over until they can sing your song and they know every lyric. That person doesn't leave your gym. The one who leaves your gym knows the chorus and doesn't know anything else. And then they get hit with some marketing campaign of the next shiny object from so-and-so boot camp place down the street that promises fat melting workouts, burn 1,000 calories in 2.5 minutes, and you're going to, outrun your fork, and you're never going to have to follow a diet again. Come get B12 shots in your butt. Everything's going to be great for you. Just stop doing what you're doing right now and come join us. They're always getting that marketing. They are being exposed to so many things on a regular basis. So you've got to sing the song. I'm currently building a platform for educating clients. I already have it for Limitless, but I'm creating another product for new clients. So all my clients go through a 5 video series for nutrition when they sign up. I don't explain the same nutritional advice every single time. So they have to go through that first. But you'd be amazed that someone comes in crying, wanting to lose weight, and I will ask them a week after they've started, have you gone through my nutritional videos? All 5 videos combined are 50 minutes total. Some are 5 minutes, some are 20 minutes, but it's a step-by-step. I take all the fat out of it and just give them what they need to know about nutrition, how the body takes in glucose and fatty acids, how it stores fat, and how it burns fat. And I need them to understand that, and they will never have to follow another diet again if they get this concept. And a week later, they're like, oh, yeah, I still haven't got through those videos yet. I'm like, I thought you were serious about this. Like, this is 5 videos. So you can't just give them a library of information, also a library of
Right.
long form content. It can't be 4 hours worth of things. Short form content. A long form content is really good. Podcasts and YouTube videos are good for generating very high quality leads, because someone who listens to an hour long podcast is a high quality lead. Someone who watches a 30-second reel is just kind of an emotional person that might send you a message and they ghost you, right? It was very, short and sweet, and they've already forgotten it. They're back at the bar. But for clients who actually sign up, I'm creating an academy where they go through a video series or a gamification series of why we do the things we do. And I'm going to make it as short as I possibly can, talk about training to failure, why they don't need to run on a treadmill and do cardio, why they only need strength training, why we only do one set, why we do the things we do in very short, concise. I'm going to be in the video drawing on my digital whiteboard, making it quick, and I'm going to make it as short as I possibly can. But it's gamified. So when they go into that site, they can watch one video. And until they watch that video and answer the quiz questions, they cannot watch the second one. So they can't passively listen to it while they're scrolling on Facebook and hit next. Like, yeah, I watched all your videos. No, they won't. The test won't be hard, but they will not answer the questions correctly unless they actually consume, hear, memorize the content. Yeah, they could forget it, but it's much better. So Limitless is set up that way. I have 25 trainings in Limitless. When they first log into the site, there is one video they can watch, and that is it. And that's the get started, housekeeping, how the site works. And they go. They have to still click a button to move on. So it's either a survey, it might be they have to upload a photo, their before and after pictures. They might have to do something, or they have to answer a quiz, 3 or 4 multiple choice questions before the video unlocks to go to the next training. So I'm doing that with the facility now so that people know. So I don't have them fall through the cracks. I don't have a client who's been with us for 5 years who goes and does, again, something that's completely outside of what we've been discussing for 5 years with them. I've had that happen with clients who have lost 40 pounds and fully reshaped their body, and they're as strong as they've ever been, and they're a female, and they're deadlifting 225 pounds, and they go do something else, because people are always blinded to the fact that they've hit their genetic ceiling. And so they get really good results with you for a couple of years, and then things slow down, and they think, oh, I've just gotten used to this work and I'm not getting the results I used to get. Well, have we ever had the genetic ceiling conversation with them? Like, listen, you made this vast majority of progress in the first kind of 1, maybe 2 years you've been with us. You're not going to be a 400-pound bodybuilder with 6-pack abs. Do you think the progress is endless? So they jump to the next thing thinking they need to reinvigorate their biology with something new that's going to transform their body again to the next level, when really the next level is anabolic steroids or nothing.
Mic drop. John, that's excellent. Thank you so much. I want to be obviously respectful of your time, and we definitely need to wrap here. This has been an amazing podcast. I'm very grateful for your time. What is the best place for people to
I hope
find
it
out
was
more about
good,
you?
because I was nervous
John,
about not
sure
being good on this podcast, because, again, what a disappointment to go on your favorite podcast to listen to and everyone's like, man, you should drop the ball. That guy sucked.
No. I assure you, it's quite the opposite. There were certain things where, I mean, I don't know if you saw, but when you were talking about client education, I threw my head back, and I don't ever do that. And that was because you just blew my mind and reminded me of something so critically important, which I am neglecting. So I really appreciate that. What is the best way for people to find out more about your programs, about your facility, and also about Limitless?
Yeah, I would say Instagram is best. So my handle is just at John Thompson. No hyphens or anything. It's John Thompson. They can email me, john@limitlesslegion.com. That's I don't get very many emails. I keep that as my non-spam email. So I answer those, and I see all the emails that come through john@limitlesslegion.com. So yeah, I'd say Instagram or my email. And I'm happy to, if any of you guys are listening to this, everyone's been very gracious. It's interesting, the HIT community, every person I've ever emailed from this podcast that you've had on, I've emailed Joe Sorelli. I've emailed and talked to on the phone Roger Schwab. I have Instagrammed Luke Carlson. Every single person has gotten back to me. Like, Luke has never not answered an Instagram message I've sent him. I'm like, he's a busy CEO of all these locations, and he answers. I mean, Instagram messages, you can totally get away with not answering Instagram messages. No one, it's not an email, right? So no one judges you for it if you didn't answer. But like, people say, like, I don't answer DMs. He's answered every single Instagram message I've ever sent him.
Doug he's now going to get a load of DMs.
Yeah, he's like, no, don't tell him. So anyway, it's just been great. Like within like a day or two, everyone, like, Roger's all, here's my number, I'll talk to you about stuff. Joe Sorelli emailed me the next day. He runs Gainesville Health and Fitness. Like, it's been great. So anyway, I want to be open like that as well. So if anyone does want to talk, this community needs to grow. Hit business owners need to grow their businesses. So if I can help, I'm happy to.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And we'll link all that up in the show notes to this over on episode 410. And if everyone listening, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to get updated when we release new episodes. Please subscribe on YouTube, which is, we've got this wrong, youtube.com/high intensity business. And we are now back on social media. So we are on Instagram. I'm going to get this wrong now. I think it's instagram.com/high intensity business. And Facebook is obviously facebook.com/high intensity business, I believe. But you can find us, just search high intensity business and you'll find it. Please like and give us feedback on all the content we're distributing now. And lastly, to get more clients, as I said at the start of this, for your hit business, download our free resource over at highintensitybusiness.com/free. We can get access to loads of PDFs, including 10 tips to get more clients, how to attract and retain great trainers, and much, much more. Download that at highintensitybusiness.com/free. And lastly, to find the blog post for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com and search episode 410. And I should also say, you should definitely go check this one out on YouTube, because John is one of the most impressive podcast style setups you'll ever see. He has a Spartan shield in the background, which he's told he's going to send me in the mail, which I'm really excited about. And an amazing mug as well. And until next time, everyone, thank you very much for listening.